Hi, I'm Rick Kaufman, Technical Marketing Engineer for the Technical Enablement Team here at Aruba Networks. And we made it. This is it. This is the last episode of the Aruba Restful Automation Series. And in this episode, we're going to take StackStorm, which we learned about in our last episode, and we're going to look at an integration pack for Aruba Central. And we're going to plug it into StackStorm, and we're going to try to use it and see what happens. Yes, it's a complete science experiment here in the lab, but we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to learn a lot. And like I said, we're going to try to wrap it all up for you. And so you can actually start using the stuff you've learned in this video series to go out and start interacting with Python bindings or APIs and manipulating them, putting them in a Flask, Jinja 2 templates, or putting them in a Mongo database. All this stuff is what we learned so far. We're going to try to wrap it all up and build something that actually does this stuff for us. So thank you so much for staying on this long. I hope you've learned a lot. This is basically programming the way I program. Might be the right way, might be the wrong way, but it works, and that's how I do it. Okay, so glad we made it to this point. Let's dive into the lecture. Episode 12, StackStorm Aruba Central. This is the Aruba Restful Automation Series, the last and final episode. Let's take a look at what's inside our StackStorm pack. We want to install the pack, so we'll use the st2 pack install command like this, and we put the reference to our GitHub location of our pack. Once you do that, you'll see it succeeded on installing, and you'll see you have a pack called Aruba Central. If you want to remove it, it's st2 pack remove. So once we have our pack, we can look at the files that are in it. One thing I want you to be aware of is this Aruba Central.example. This is the file that you're going to change and copy to the opt StackStorm configs Aruba Central.yaml. And in this file will be our credentials to generate a token. So you'll put all this into the file and save the file in the opt StackStorm configs directory, and that will be the way you get authenticated. We're going to have to do what's called an st2 cuttle reload to reload StackStorm, so it gets all those changes and updates back in there. We'll do that whenever we change actions or roles. And then we're going to run a command, and we're going to pass the command two variables, a name and a password. We're just going to do a post. So we're using HTTP post to go ahead and build a group name in Aruba Central. And then we're going to do the st2 run Aruba Central get groups action, and then we'll see the list of groups from Aruba Central. We're going to do a st2 run Aruba Central delete groups, and we're going to give it a group name called check, and we're going to watch it get deleted as well. Logging into the web user interface, we're going to move around in there, look at a couple of things, especially the history to where we can see what's been going on in StackStorm. Our lab will be built on these 18 StackStorm Docker containers that we had in the last episode, and we're going to log into the st2 client. If you have StackStorm just installed on a standalone server, not a problem, just follow along in the demo. So let's get started. Okay, here I am inside my Docker desktop once again, and my StackStorm is running in these 18 containers I have here, and I want to get to the client. That's where I go. Here we click on client, and we get a window into the client. And as always, we bash before we do anything, BASH. We'll make this larger for everybody to see, and then we're going to get started. So here we're in opt StackStorm. I need to do what's called an st2 login, st2 admin, and that's going to get me logged into StackStorm. Okay, so yes, we're in. We can prove we're in by saying st2 action list. And then we should see some actions. So we are inside StackStorm. So we want to install a StackStorm integration pack. So we say st2 pack install https github.com/xod442 slash stack STORM Aruba CENTRAL. That should get us our pack. ST2 pack install, that's where it's at. Let's see. It'll bomb out right away if you put the wrong name in, but it found the install and it started downloading it, and now it's integrating that into the StackStorm system. So it's looking at all of the required Python libraries to make our pack run, and it's installing them in a virtual environment inside StackStorm. So it's basically loading everything we need to get our code to run inside of StackStorm. So this will just take a second or two to get through this. Once it does, it'll let us know with a little window that it has been installed. And then we can actually start looking at some of the actions that are available. What we're going to do real quick is I want to bring up the actions so you can see them. And they look like this. So here is our pack. I'm sorry, I don't think I can make this any bigger. So in our pack, we have some files, we have actions, and we have rules. And then we have a few other things that we need. We have a requirements text. And what this means is it means these are the things, these are the Python bindings we need to get this running. If you look at the README, there should be some very interesting information in the README file to tell you some of the things you need to do to get this running, like copying this file. So where's this file at? When we get our authentication in StackStorm, we use this thing called Aruba Central example, and we're going to copy that to another directory in StackStorm, and we're going to change this name from .example to .yaml. So let's go ahead and see where that's at. So here I am in StackStorm. If I change directory to the configs directory, which if you just look, we do ls, right here is configs, change to configs. And when we do that, we can look at the files inside the configs, and we can see we have an Aruba Central.yaml. So I'm going to cat this file, cat Aruba Central YAML. And in it, you can see we have the base URL, the client ID, the secret ID, the customer ID, the username and password, and a couple other things. But that is what we need to get a token from Aruba Central. Now you get your base URL, well, you get your base URL off of developer.arubanetworks.com. There's a video about that earlier in the series, how to get this all up and running. And then the customer ID, the secret, and the client ID, you get all of those from Aruba Central. You pack them into this file. You can simply say vi Aruba Central YAML, and then you just edit your file, and then you give it a colon and a right quit, or a right. So you can just write the file out. I always quit. Thank you. That's how you change that file. Once you get that file finished, you have to say st2ctl reload to reload the StackStorm environment with that new information. So that reloads everything. Okay? And we'll go through there. And if you've got errors in anything, it'll show up right here when you do a cuddle reload. You'll see where things are breaking down. So the good news is I haven't seen anything out of the ordinary here but info messages. And then finally, when it gets wrapped up, I have a lot of actions. I have 188 actions in here. Once it gets wrapped up, it'll look like that. Okay, now we can, I'm going to get us some real estate here. We're just going to issue some StackStorm commands here. So we're going to say st2 action list with a -p flag, and I'm going to say Aruba Central. And I'll get to see those actions that are in the Aruba Central pack. So I have a get groups, delete groups, a get users, and then we have post groups where we're going to actually create a group. So how do we do that? How do we make that happen? We say st2 run Aruba Central dot post underscore groups, and we're going to have to pass it a group name, and we're going to say that's equal to test 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to give it a group password of equal to test. So with our credentials locked in, we should now be able to manually run actions from the st2 command line. Let's see if it works. And you see that it worked. And we have a group name in the parameters called test1234. And we have test. You can see it succeeded. And there is our HTTP return code of 201. And we got a couple of standard errors, things that we don't really have to look at. But the important part is, I believe we just built a new group with a StackStorm integration pack action inside Aruba Central. So how can we prove that? We can run another action, st2 run Aruba Central get groups, like that. We'll run that, and we should see a group name called test1234. And we do. We see test 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have another action we can run, st2 run Aruba Central dot delete groups, and then we give it a group name, and we call it test 1, 2, 3, 4, and we see if it will delete it, and we see it succeeded. We have a result code 200, and we see the group name come back. If we want, we can just get groups again, and when the get groups finishes, we should see that the test 1, 2, 3, 4 is gone. Now, we just demonstrated how we can use actions in StackStorm. Now, those StackStorm actions are callable through a workflow in StackStorm, where we can plug multiple actions together in a chain and have them execute in different integration packs. So we can talk to info blocks, we can talk to Aruba Central, we can talk to Aruba Fabric Composer. We can do all this in the StackStorm framework. I just wanted to show you real quick the way those actions look. They're right here in the workflows, or under the workflows rather. We get groups. This is just a Python script. And we're just saying import these actions. And then we're building a class. And so we're saying from the PyCentral Python binding, we're getting the groups class. And we're going to create a new class called all groups with this Aruba Central base action. And we're importing that up here from live actions. If we look in live, we see the actions, and this is what's getting imported. This right here where we're saying this super Aruba Central base action equals config. And what that is, it's pointing at that file that we put all this stuff in, the client ID and the client secret. So once this actions gets called by a StackStorm action, we bring it in here, this Aruba Central, that's our authentication, and then the PyCentral config is the API we want to talk to. And right here, we're instantiating a new class of groups called all groups, and our response is all groups get groups method, and we're passing it the connection auth. And then we just return the information here. So super simple Python script, but it's doing some really, really interesting things. So I just wanted to show you that as well. We're going to move into looking at this from a web interface. Here we are going to just go to our local host. We can get here just by going localhost port 80 in this line. There we go. And then we can log in. With SC2 admin, we can log in with our password. Once we get logged in, we can see the history of what's been running in StackStorm. And we can see where workflows will fail. And then we can drill in and figure out why. But you can see we just ran get groups. Well, we can look at that. And you can see when you click on this, you can see the information that we got back. So there's a whole lot of things you can look at inside the StackStorm browser. I can look in here and see my actions and look at Aruba Central actions. And I can say, I can look at executions from them and see when they ran and see when they passed and how that all worked out here. So this is the web side of StackStorm. You can see this history and you can go ahead and look at rules. And here's where I said you could turn rules on and off. Okay, that wraps up the Aruba Restful Automation series. Thank you for sticking with me through all of this. We learned a lot together. Now you know the inner workings of a StackStorm pack for Aruba Central, and really it's all just Python scripts inside that are leveraging Python bindings that are working with Python lists and dictionaries. So we can start putting this all together into whatever kind of automation you want to write. So if you have any questions or anything like that, hit me up in the comment section of the video and I will try to get back with you. And as always, keep the dream alive, developer.arubanetworks.com, devhub, arubanetworks.com. Get yourself an Aruba Central account and let's start using RESTful automation with Aruba product APIs. Leave your questions below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next adventure.